Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. I will watch the other three members of this show take Sam Darnold victory laps at my expense.
Hey, this is Arif Hassan from the Wide Left Substack. Immediately before we were recording, Luke Braun went through a sneezing fit, and he looks awful.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. That's my secret. I always look awful in the morning.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. I've officially forgiven Andrew Van Ginkel for attending the University of Wisconsin.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talks Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
And we're still on Luke Inman there. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Vikings win 28-6. They're 1-0, keeping the good Vikings vibes rolling on today's show. We do this every Monday and Thursday. We are live about 11 a.m. Central. We are on demand on YouTube. We are available on any podcast feed. The Locked On Vikings audio feed, where Luke Braun does great daily Vikings content. You met the Lukes, you met Arif, and you met myself, Sam Ekstrom, getting into the 28-6 win. Solid performance from Sam Darnold. Yes, I can scarcely believe it. The defense looks dominant. The newcomers looked fantastic. We'll have nerdy stats of the day, new scheme wrinkles, odds and ends from Vikings 28, Giants 6 on a show that is presented by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Luke Braun, any PrizePicks plays yesterday that you'd like to talk about?
Yes. Matt Stafford's more than, I think it was 275 or something like that yards. And David Montgomery, more than half of a touchdown. That was a sweat with their Caleb Williams half a yard thing, which is now next week, so it won't actually
he
officialize
scarcely
till next
cleared
week,
it. I mean, he barely got more than half a yard, honestly.
Yeah. but it counts. PrizePicks has him with 25 because I think it's doing like a net passing yards thing.
Uh-huh.
No. What they stop the count after like a certain amount of time. Like I've noticed this whenever PrizePicks does. Yeah. So it's
I was like, wow, that game was worse than I thought.
No, that's not what happened at all. No, this
spiritually it kind of is.
Like, but like when they do like one of those quote unquote free squares where you've got like half a yard or half a completion or half a point in like a WNBA game or something like that, they kind of just stop it after a second. It's like, oh, well, like LeBron definitely scored more than 4 points in this game, but it doesn't matter because you've hit
it just stops using its servers. That's fair.
Yeah. So there you go.
Fair enough. Speaking of over-unders, we will update how our week 1 gambling picks went. We had one of us go 0 for 2. Wonder who it was. Someone who went 0 for 2 a lot last year. We'll talk about that in a bit. But first, Sam Darnold victory lap.
The real ones went better.
I was on the anti-Sam Darnold bandwagon. I was alone on that island. I was outnumbered 3 to 1.
Not much of a bandwagon then, right? If you were alone.
Okay, island. We'll just call it an island. I was on the island in single coverage. And
ska band coming to you.
And as we all know, conclusions after week 1 always end up ultimately being correct. So I lose. No, I'm not giving up yet, but I will give Sam Darnold his flowers. He was very good yesterday. I don't know if I would say
very good. He was outstanding. What are you talking about?
Very good.
Yeah,
he was very good yesterday. And Arif, Arif, you were the most vociferous in your defense of Sam Darnold, so I will give you the first victory lap. You can shove it in my face. It's fair game. Russell Wilson didn't even play yesterday, so I don't have a leg to stand on today. This is your time to tell me that I'm wrong.
Sam, you're wrong. I just don't know why it was so difficult for you. All we did was we took a look at the available evidence to us and suggested that Sam Darnold had been improving. And then we asked you, hey, what evidence would it take for you, based off what has already happened so far? What evidence would it take for you to believe that Sam Darnold is better than what he was with the Jets, like it was the case for Geno Smith and a number of other players who have played for the Jets? And you never really answered the question. You kept on talking about future
numerous games. It would take numerous games.
No, but that's Sam. The question was, what evidence that has already occurred would it take for us to?
What would have had to have happened?
Yeah, and you kept on talking about future games, and it's like, Sam, that's not the debate right now. But the future games are beginning to occur, and you are looking like a fool. I'm glad of it.
I think the error
for the
here,
constructive feedback,
the mistake here, the problem here was looking at someone's rookie contract year, looking at someone's performance from more than like 2 or 3 years ago, and then just like assuming that would repeat. Players in the NFL develop, they ascend, they decline. Situations get different, things work out, things do better, they make changes, sometimes those changes don't work. Look at what the Falcons are doing with Kirk Cousins. They have tried something. Oh my God, it's a disaster. I don't get it.
Those tweets at like 4 a.m. about Kirk Cousins' footwork hit so
that
hard.
Kept me up. I lost sleep.
That was spooked Kirk. That was Kirk seeing ghosts. That was Kirk
it's not
week
that.
2.
No, it's
Kirk
different.
At Philly
it's
2 years ago. That was
it's
Kirk
different.
At Green Bay
it's crazier than that. And
okay.
Look, I am the most annoyed guy by it's never Kirk's fault, people. But this might not be his fault. So he's always been a left foot back quarterback. If you look at just pull up any Vikings Kirk Cousins highlight play from shotgun. His left foot is back. That's how he does his footwork. Essentially, it makes that first step a little bit faster so he can get through his drop back faster, give himself that much more time to read. The Falcons have him with even footwork. I think Justin Fields might be the only other NFL QB with even footwork. Maybe Caleb Williams, actually.
Interesting.
But it's for like option QBs because you don't want to tip off which way you're going to go. So you keep your feet nice and even. So he stands there completely feet like totally level with each other, arms to his side, giving you the mom I threw up. And his drop back is way slower than it ever was in Minnesota. Therefore, everything chunks out, slows down a whole bunch, and TJ Watt gets to eat.
Yeah,
why would you do that
Watt.
with Kirk Cousins? He's never been an even foot quarterback, and you do that for mobile quarterbacks, not 36-year-olds with bad Achilles.
He's a timing-based quarterback, right? He's a timing-oriented quarterback, more than a ton of other quarterbacks around the league, and they screwed up his timing. They also did not move him in boot action, which is where he's excelled at historically.
Yeah, they did like shotgun.
Pistol.
Like they gave him a USC offense. What?
Yeah, so he is almost never operated out of the pistol, and like half of his passing snaps yesterday were out of the pistol. Just like a crazy series, especially because he missed all of training camp, right? Like this wasn't like we've got some ideas on how to maximize what you do, we'll implement them. No, he was thrown into the fire basically with a bunch of stuff he's unfamiliar with. Anyway, Burrito Bill asks, did Darnold have one of the best quarterback performances of the day? It depends on how you measure it, but based off of every measurement we have, yes. So
his QBR was better than like Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Tua. I mean, a laundry list of high name guys. If you're going off
QBR was top 5. His CPOE
him or
was
the Big
number
Show.
1. Yeah. So his completion percentage over expected was number 1. EPA per play was, I think, number 4.
PFF grade highest also.
Yeah, ranked highest in PFF grade.
Yep.
What's interesting is that another quarterback, kind of along the lines that Luke was describing as developmental, the first, the player they are with their first team is not going to be who they are the whole time. They were up and down early in their career. Baker Mayfield was like another top 5 in every one of these metrics. I just feel like maybe Sam is just too harsh on quarterbacks. I really dislike the negativity, Sam. As an optimist myself, I just feel like
Oh no, not optimistic, Arif.
no, it's a shotgun. Let's see. Oh wow, someone's
complimenting the fashion. Well, Darnold did go under in his projected yards, which cost Arif a bet. We'll get into that
That's true.
A little bit later. I thought Darnold made like 4 or 5 excellent throws in the game, wasn't asked to do a tremendous amount, and really only needed to perform at a high level through the first drive of the second half to get to 21-3. And after that, it was conservative. It was the Aaron Jones show. They also lost Jordan Addison, which Kevin O'Connell said kind of affected their flow a little bit. But he did exactly.
Also, Aaron Jones was rushing for 7 yards an attempt. Why wouldn't you?
A clip.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Of course.
Of course you're going to give him the ball.
If we wondered about the run-pass balance with Aaron Jones now and trying to kind of take the weight off Sam Darnold, I don't really think we saw a more conservative plan. Like, I counted the dropbacks versus rush plays through the point that it became 21-3, which I think affects probably the play calling at that point.
Yes.
But through that point, 21 dropbacks, 14 run plays. Still pretty impressive play calling. The yards per play were high. There were throws downfield. I mean, Darnold did exactly what he needed to do, and they supported him exactly the way that he needed to be supported, with the exception of some Ed Ingram, getting blown up by Dexter Lawrence. That's going to happen. Some weird stuff with the play clock. Not thrilled about that, letting it wind down, but really almost flawless. And I'm not putting the interception on him either. That's another Dexter Lawrence blow-up play.
It's the Always Sunny title slide, and it just says Sam gets a supporting cast.
Kind of, yeah.
Sam gets an organization that isn't on the brink of collapse.
Yeah. I mean, call it the quarterback ecosystem or whatever you want. We talked about it all summer, but he's got a head coach. I mean, is it far enough removed now that we can talk about how bad Adam Gase truly was, not just as a head coach, but like developing Sam Darnold? Not to mention the
17 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Knocking back a lot of K cups. Dude completely turned his brain into Swiss cheese just to go like 2-14 and get fired.
I'm seeing ghosts.
It is like really like, because we tend to think of quarterbacks not as like system independent or anything, like we talk about it all the time, but we tend to think of quarterbacks, their performance is essentially embedded in who they are, right? And then we see a Ryan Tannehill emerge, and we're like, what in the world happened here? Ryan Tannehill's like leading the league in adjusted net yards per attempt in Tennessee of all places. That's crazy. I think this is like a pretty good, like, if Patrick Mahomes system independent, maybe, but like even some of the quarterbacks that are performing at a high level for years aren't. Russell Wilson, definitely not system independent, needs a system that requires that the middle of the field doesn't exist, right? Like that's just, you can't build a timing offense around him, so building around Sam Darnold, making sure that he's in an organization that will continue to persist over the course of the next couple of weeks. That's nice that he has that kind of stability.
He gets in it for all 32 teams. I don't know what's going to happen in Carolina.
Yeah. Also, I don't want to emphasize the impact of pressure. Obviously, Sam Darnold was under a fair amount of pressure per drop back. I think 11 of his tries, something like that. It was a pretty high percent, much higher than the 40% threshold we typically assign to like high pressure games versus low pressure games. There were 11 individual Giants with pressures, according to PFF. I don't know what Next Gen Stat says. I don't know what NFL Pro says. So it's something along those lines, right?
42% pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. 6 of them belong to Dexter Lawrence. Like, this guy,
he's that good. He's the
ruined
guy.
Everything. And before PFF corrected the pressures, I think their live pressures, it was 7 of 12. Like, it was just nuts what Dexter Lawrence was able to do. The rest of that, which include Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, they weren't able to consistently generate pressure. So is this more the interior offensive line being bad, or Dexter Lawrence being the best pass rushing nose tackle that we've seen in maybe decades? It's probably a little bit of both, but I think that it's not as big. It's a concern. It's not as big a concern as it might initially seem, based off of how often it felt like Darnold was harassed.
Ingram, a 9.3 pass blocking grade, 6 pressures allowed. Bradbury with 4 pressures allowed.
Did you say a 9.3 PFF?
That's what
what they'll do. If you Especially like how many dropbacks were there
low
total?
passing volume offense. Yeah, that's that happened to Bradbury
you give
against
up
the Falcons a couple years ago.
You give up that many, like they'll absolutely.
Meanwhile,
Blake
Blake
how many
Darnold,
dropbacks
highest
did they
PFF
have?
grade on the team.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, like that is factually true. I don't know if I agree with that assessment, but
No, we got it.
Yeah, it was like I don't know how many passing snaps they had against the Falcons that time Bradbury got a 0.0, but it was like
12.
it was like 4.
Yeah, it was like 11 plays.
Yeah.
And in pass blocking in particular, too, they do their like true pass set thing, and they weight it really heavily toward that, and they have a reason for doing that, and they don't opponent adjust, and they have a good reason for doing that. Like they defend why they do that, but like they don't give you but it was Dexter Lawrence. We're going to be nice to you here.
Yeah, and which is fine. You just have to be aware of how the grading system works. Like again,
just kind of the grains of salt you have to take.
Yeah, and I think that for what they say that they do a pretty good job. But like you have to be aware of what that means. I would argue that Ed Ingram did have an awful game. I don't know if I would give him a 9 out of 100. He did have a bad game, but you know, it's I wouldn't argue that Brandel had like this insano game either.
There were a couple concerning elements of that first quarter. Interior line bludgeoned, a fumble by CJ Ham, and key penalties sustaining a Giants drive. Giants took that early lead briefly. But then the sun came out, and it was all good from there. Vikings scored 28 of the next 31 points. They win 28-6. Let me finish this segment with one final salvo. We recently had the 10-year anniversary, a big 10-year anniversary on Saturday, of the following box score. 17 of 25, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 0 sacks taken. That belonged to Matt Castle in the debut against the Rams in 2014, Mike Zimmer's first game. Winning score 34-6 in favor of Minnesota. How long did that last?
Well, they lost to the Patriots the next week.
Yep.
And then Matt Castle got injured week 3, right?
Yep.
Versus the Saints.
It was the Falcons.
Falcons was the first start, but Teddy finished the Saints game.
Start. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. Sorry, the Falcons was the first start. I remember that Falcons game because Anthony Barr had a ridiculous rundown of a guy who ran a 4.3, forcing a fumble and recovering it. What a great moment.
I just remember Teddy's mom in the stands when he rushed that QB scramble in, and they just kept showing Teddy's mom, and the whole place was going nuts. Anybody?
That was Jared McKinnon's breakout game too. McKinnon had like a huge day, all purpose. Anyway, I just want to caution everyone about 1 week of results against a fledgling, and I mean fledgling, franchise with Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors looks good. I don't know what else looked good for the Giants yesterday, but the Vikings took advantage. They won by 3 possessions for the first time in 5 years. We found that out in the postcast yesterday.
August 2019. Yeah.
The Chargers, I believe.
Chargers 7 turnover game.
The Afadio Denebo game.
Afadio Denebo with the
scores. Yeah.
Fadi.
I was at that game.
Wow. You were at that game?
I was at that game.
That's so funny.
75% Vikings fans. It was insane.
Wow.
I've been to a fair amount of road games. Never seen it like it is with Chargers.
Man. Hey, but you know what? That Rams victory in 2014, that was a Jeff Fisher-led team, okay? This was a Brian Dable-led team. So, way different.
Yeah, Jeff Fisher had gone to a Super Bowl. True.
Yeah, exactly.
Got him.
Got him. Hey.
Love for the defense when we return as they choke the life out of Daniel Jones and the Giants. That's next. We are presented today by PrizePicks. It's the best way to play fantasy sports in America with over 5 million active members. Hopefully you were over or more than on the yards from Malik Neighbors yesterday. Hopefully you were on the less than on the Justin Jefferson yardage. You can also go cross sport on PrizePicks. So maybe you had some Major League Baseball mixed in with your NFL. Great promotion going on as well with Caleb Williams. All you need is 1 passing yard to get you a win on PrizePicks every week in September. So that's 4 weeks of free W's, assuming Caleb Williams can muster a single passing yard, which he barely did yesterday. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks if you have the right entry. So make sure you download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. We are also brought to you by BetterHelp on this Monday. Kids, they're always learning. They're always growing. Sometimes as adults, we lose that curiosity. What's something you'd like to learn? What skill? Is it gardening? Is it a new language? You want to get better at golf? You want to get better at bowling? Lots of options, lots of ways to explore. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back-to-school era can come at any age, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. Fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched up with a licensed therapist. Switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, thanks to the everydayers that tune into our lineup here at Locked On Sports Minnesota. Ron Johnson Show on Tuesdays for great Gophers and Vikings talk. Roundtable on Fridays with Reggie Wilson, Julia Daniels, and Ron talking all Minnesota sports. Please subscribe. Hey, how about a little challenge right now? Everybody watching, we got 162 of you in here. Subscribe right now if you haven't. Let's get to 8,000 subscribers as we speak. We are knocking on the door of that milestone. We would greatly appreciate that.
Are we
Vikings
botting reviews?
defense.
How'd that happen? That's crazy. 162.
People are excited. The Get Sam Paid year, vibes year, it's on.
They're here to dunk on me. Get Sam dunked on for his Sam take.
Everybody in chat.
That was my pitch.
Dunk on Sam for his Sam take.
Yep.
Let's see the chat.
The defense allowed
We talked about something else.
5. Yeah, let's change the subject quickly. Defense allowed 3.5 yards per play. It was great. It was at all levels. It was fantastic.
Jesus.
I thought the run defense was encouragingly physical, rallying to the football, good perimeter run defense. And I don't think Devin Singletary is like Saquon Barkley at all. I don't think the Giants offered much in the way of challenges, but you can't complain about anything you saw yesterday. I thought Ivan Pace was flying all over the field, and the secondary seemed relatively cohesive and were able to stifle a quarterback that has no confidence. So they did what they were supposed to do. Luke Inman, your thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't watched the game back yet, but from first glance, first impression, Harrison Phillips, you talked about that run defense. Harrison Phillips, my goodness. It looks like he's top 5 in the PFF grades, which, again, I know we take with a grain of salt, but you think he ain't in a contract year right now? Watch that game back. That dude was a machine yesterday. He made a lot of good things happen for everybody around him. I know there was some talks of extending maybe Cam Bynum before the season started. I'm starting to think I don't want to see this defense without Harrison Phillips in the middle of that. But you talk about the cohesion. Remember last year it took 4, 5, 6 weeks, 6 games for them to really click and put it all together. Yesterday was okay, once that first series or two went by, after that, you could just feel the cohesion going on. They were flying around the ball. They were playing sound, fundamental football. They just looked like they were in mid-season form, and they were gelling together right off the bat compared to last year where it took so long to get going. So that took me by surprise a little bit, just knowing how many, new pieces they brought in, kind of still thinking about last year's slow start. I love to see that. And then, obviously it's hard to crown them when they're playing Daniel Jones, but this is the same Daniel Jones. I said it yesterday on the postcast. Same Daniel Jones that beat you in the wild card round in your house, sent you packing. So maybe some demons there that needed to be exercised yesterday. That was great too. But yeah, some of their blitzes didn't get home maybe as fast as you would like. Sam, I think you mentioned that actually yesterday too. But when you play better quarterbacks and better offenses, might have to tighten some stuff up for sure. All in all though, man, it was a really, really impressive performance. And anytime you have 12 quarterback hits, 5 sacks, you don't allow a touchdown in the NFL, you got to pat yourself on the back. So thought they checked a lot of boxes for sure. Better litmus test coming, though, the next 2 weeks. San Fran, Houston. But in grand scheme of things, very impressed.
Yeah, as you go through every guy, like you saw what you wanted to see out of like everybody. You saw Harrison Phillips. You wanted to see, you know, this great production. He had this great game. You wanted to see Jonathan Grenard be involved. You wanted to see Andrew Van Ginkel do stuff. He did way more than that, right? And Van Ginkel, probably player of the game. You know, you wanted to see Ivan Pace flying around the field. He was flying around the field. You wanted to see the way Blake Cashman moved in the second level. You saw that, and even in the secondary, it's hard to know because none of these passes were getting off, and Daniel Jones had this horrifically low depth of target, but that does kind of imply that it went pretty well. When the tape's out, well, you know, we'll all get a look and see maybe guys were flying around open right away, and maybe Daniel Jones didn't see it or anything like that. But like even Jerry Tillery and Jonathan Bullard, like you wanted to see something out of them, and Tillery had like a genuinely good game.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. You know, the Vikings had a pressure rate of about 40%. What was interesting is that they didn't blitz nearly as often, right? They blitzed at like a 32% clip, according to PFF. Again, you know, different organizations will have different counts, but that's a much lower rate for a team that blitzed at above 50% clip, according to any organization that you looked at that tracked the blitzes. And in one game, blitzed over 80% last year. This seems to be not
psychotic.
That
Come on,
right? They played correctly. They played on that reputation of them as a high blitzing team. They put up a bunch of people at the line of scrimmage. We even saw some double A gap looks. Probably not actually an homage to Zimmer, but I like to think so. And they really confused Daniel Jones's reads, and you could see that there were times when, you know, a lot of the pressure was because Jones didn't know what he was looking at. He was holding onto the ball too long. And there were other times, of course, the pressure arrived really quickly. I know that you mentioned, you know, hey, there's like all these guys in the backfield. They're not bringing Jones down. 5 sacks. Like, I mean, that's a pretty good game. 5 sacks. So they were still able to do some damage in the backfield. And what's crazy is I think the official box score had like 12 quarterback hits or something like that. It was just nuts. And it was like 7 different players that were able to tag him. Like, it was just crazy how much harassment they were able to do in the back end. Now, like Luke said, we didn't see a ton of what the secondary was doing. When there were accurate throws, the secondary generally did a pretty good job. I think Byron Murphy had a pretty clutch, like pass deflection, for example. Stephon Gilmore had one as well. In fact, the best throws were not accurate throws. It was just Malik Neighbors just kind of appearing amidst triple coverage and bringing, you know, the ball down, right? Which would have been
found some soft spots in like Flores blitz zones, which is how teams are going to move the ball. And, like, those opportunities will be there consistently. That's the cost of blitzing. But
Jones
accurate throws.
Yeah. Gotta hit him.
Funny, interesting. Now that we have the PFF data, Darnold was pressured at a higher percentage than Jones yesterday.
Yeah.
Jones was pressured at 40%, like you said, 6th most in the NFL. I have the blitz rate at 38%. And again, I think they showed it a lot more than they brought it. I think this was a game where you just clog the middle of the field, try to rally to the short passes, reduce yards after catch. He's not going to go deep on you, and he didn't. I think he had one pass with air yards of 20 yards or more, unless I'm forgetting one. It was a pretty meager passing performance, and I credit the Vikings for doing that. But look at this, 26 pressures applied by the Vikings. You got 4 from Jihad Ward. You had 5 from Jonathan Grenard. I mean, they got around Daniel Jones and made his life pretty miserable yesterday. I think that the pass rush was actually pretty effective for, as I wouldn't say little as they brought blitz, but relative to Brian Flores, as little as they brought blitz. I expect that to go up in future weeks.
I think too, it's a game where you just kind of feel like you can win one-on-one in a lot of places. They got a backup right tackle. They've got all kinds of questions on their interior. John Runyon in hell all day, just couldn't hang. And I think you just kind of saw that. All right, I think we can just line up and beat these guys. We don't have to commit extra coverage resources. And then they were right.
Yeah, John Runyon, a rare former awful Packers offensive lineman. The Vikings have had some pretty good success against him over the years. So it was nice to see that continue. So Daniel Jones, both of you mentioned the low depth of target. He had a depth of target, I think, like 5.0 yards downfield, which I was making fun.
Yeah,
it's bad. I was making fun of Bo Nix the entire game, you know, in that late afternoon window for his depth of target. And mind you, for most of the game, it was pretty low. But by the end of the game, he actually had a higher depth of target than Daniel
Jesus
Jones.
Christ.
Wow.
Right, that's bad.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like 6.3, right? And by the end of the game, like Sean Payton's like, all right, we got to dial up some deep shots. We're never getting back in. But the Giants they were in the same spot. They didn't do that, right?
Yeah. At which point Bo Nix just started running.
Yeah, which was great because on PrizePicks, I believe it was 21.5 rushing yards was the pick, and I picked more than, right? So that was nice. But
Wow.
I was like,
that was a sweat.
He had like 8 the whole game. I was like, I'm not getting this at all. Man, run some read option. This throwing stuff isn't working. That's not what happened, but I still met it, so it didn't matter. But Daniel Jones
tricked the Vikings, by the way, out of taking him.
I thought this was just a little interesting too. Sorry to cut you off, Arif. I watched the Locked On Giants postcast with Jay Berman, brand new show launched yesterday, and Jay, who knows the Giants really well, thought that Daniel Jones looked considerably slower than he did pre-ACL. I didn't note that at the time, but that was an interesting observation too from Jay, because I think that was a thought, right? That, hey, coming off an ACL, he's not going to be as willing or mobile. And it seems like he wanted to get out of the pocket and maybe wasn't quite as agile.
That was a big part of the playoff debacle. Donatello.
Oh my God. That was
some big third downs that he could just kind of like waltz backwards into.
Yeah. Didn't he have like over 100 yards rushing when it was all said and done?
Really?
Pretty close. They showed the stats, I think, on the broadcast.
It was
over
insane.
300 passing and close to 100 rushing. Yeah, that was his pinnacle performance, and it's not gone well for him since. He's now 13-31 if you discount 2022.
Okay, 17 carries, 78 yards. Okay.
That's pretty good. We got nerdy stats of the day coming back after a break. I've got a couple good ones. One of them about Andrew Van Ginkel. And I also want to update our picks from week 1, which included 4 Vikings props. Be right back. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. FanDuel is where we made our week 1 bets. Hopefully you did well. We had mixed results, but that's all right. You can also get a great promotion at FanDuel where you bet $5 and you get a free 3 weeks of NFL Sunday ticket. I also want to tell you about Gametime today, the Gametime app. Gametime is the best place to buy tickets. Using Gametime picks, it filters out the fluff, shows you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So the curation allows you to get into concerts, comedy, theater, sports extremely easily. Just a couple clicks, you've got your tickets. Toggle on the all-in pricing, get a panoramic view from your seat. It's beautifully done. It's easy to navigate at Gametime with the best customer service policy. Just take the guesswork out of buying tickets altogether with Gametime, and this is how you can save some cash. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. All right, back at it. Minnesota Football Party. We do this Mondays and Thursdays. Check out Locked On Vikings with Luke Braun as well. Check out the postcasts with Luke Inman after every single Vikings, Gophers, Twins, and Timberwolves games. It's time for our favorite segment. If you're new here, we do this quite a bit, and we love it. It's called Nerdy Stat of the Day.
Analytics fans rejoice. It's time to get educated.
Whoa, you're blowing my mind right now.
With the Nerdy Stat of the Day.
I want to be clear. It's not necessarily my favorite segment. It's my favorite graphic for a segment.
That much is clear. Anybody that just saw that on the YouTube side, how could you deny that that's some of the best piece of graphic design that we have on the network? Luke Braun, let's start with you. What do you have? Nerdy Stat of the Day.
So my brain is still broken by the Kirk Cousins Falcons thing. They spent 96% of their game in shotgun, which for Kirk Cousins, like what? Do you know him? Did you meet him before? Well, I guess you did meet him before you signed him famously and probably shouldn't have, which should have given you the insight not to go 96% out of shotgun. So I guess their idea was to replace under center with pistol. Maybe it's something with trying to protect his Achilles. So 26 snaps out of pistol and 22 out of shotgun. 6 total yards gained out of pistol. 6. on the whole day.
Oh my gosh.
Just a total catastrophe.
And again, watch the highlights of that game back. There's 2 picks, which are atrocious. There are third down checkdowns, which are atrocious. There's a fumbled jet sweep that hit the guy in jet sweep because Cousins mistimed it. And then there are 2 or 3 TJ Watt strip sacks that did not count. And he could have had 5 sacks in the game if not for penalties. Insanely
one of those
ugly.
Was like the classic Everson Griffin. He timed the snap count so perfectly it looked like it was offsides, but it actually wasn't. But you couldn't take the flag back. But part of that too was because of the footwork being different, it was clunkier. And like we got people in chat saying like, oh, he looked super gimpy. I don't know if that was gimpy or if it was he's not used to dropping back from that stance. So yeah, it's going to be a little stiff and weird because he's doing that for the first time at the age of 36 and missed camp. What are we doing?
Arif, can you put yourself in that press conference at Mercedes-Benz Stadium? Like, you know exactly what they experienced with Sad Kirk. Post-game Sad Kirk with the, just the pursed lips.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
Oh my God, you nailed that. The grimace.
We're going to watch the film. And that's about all.
He's so disappointed. Like the skin starts stretching around his lips, and it's like,
yeah.
Hey, I know you're not wearing makeup. That's so interesting.
He's just so contained. Like, he's. That's his CEO personality, right? You gotta
put on a brave face and lay off half your workforce.
Kirk Cousins. Andrew Van Ginkel had an interception that took 1.16 seconds per Next Gen Stats, the fastest interception since Week 13, 2023, when Andrew Van Ginkel intercepted Sam Howell in 1.26 seconds.
That's a great stat.
Andrew Van Ginkel. I mean, it's all Next Gen. I did not come up with it. Van Ginkel now responsible for the 2 fastest interceptions over the last 2 seasons on his pick 6, where I assume against Howell, he did the same thing, jumped the route. He did it against Darnold in training camp.
It's identical. Yeah.
Done it.
You got to see the highlight. It is the exact same thing.
Yeah.
When will they learn? I guess the same division.
The guy that does one thing. This is Alexander Madison hurdling, but on defense.
Oh man!
Hey, on that touchdown,
had a hurdle yesterday, right?
Yeah,
he did. He did have a hurdle.
Vintage.
It was on the 31-yard.
OG.
Yeah, that check down that he just housed by hurdling. It was the coolest thing ever.
I just want to point out, too, that in our season predictions, I said goose egg for defensive and special teams touchdowns, and that is blown up.
Oh, my God. Did I have the highest? It was at 4?
I think we said like 2. We're all in trouble.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I'll win just from the... nothing could happen. That is true, too. But...
true.
If it goes over, I've got the highest one, so I'm
right.
set there. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really prep a nerdy stat because I kind of wasted it on the last segment. So I'll say this: only one quarterback had a lower depth of target than Daniel Jones, and that was Gardner Minshew, who was able to get players like Alexander Madison housing checked out. So it kind of didn't matter. But if you take a look at like the EPA plus CPOE composite, so that sounds sufficiently nerdy, over at Running Backs Don't Matter, rbsdm.com. What they do is they take completion percentage over expected, which is the completion percentage that you have minus the one you'd expect to have based off of the direction of the throw and the distance of the throw. So if you throw at the line of scrimmage the whole game, your completion percentage is expected to be around like 87%. So if you have a 90% completion percentage doing that, you only get 0.3. like as the CPOE. And then you take the EPA, how many expected points you added based off of your play. You strip it from some of the context, right? So they cap like how much EPA you lose on like fumbles and pick sixes and stuff like that. You combine those two together to get one measure, which does a really great job of predicting future quarterback performance. And number 1 in the NFL, Baker Mayfield. Number 2, Sam Darnold.
Wow.
Number 30, mind you, we haven't had the 2 other quarterback games happen yet. So Dead last, number 30, Caleb Williams. That's exciting. Caleb Williams. Daniel Jones is number 28. So in terms of EPA plus CPOE differential, the Vikings are number 1 in the NFL, which is nice. Also at 27, Jared Goff. And at 24, Bo Nix. 23, Kirk Cousins. All of those I feel like are of interest to Vikings fans. And all of them played poorly, which means the Vikings are the best team, and you're right for cheering for them.
Did any rookie quarterbacks who played look good? Nix, no.
No, I mean, Caleb, no.
Like,
Jaden Daniels ran
like,
around
Jaden, no.
passing-wise.
So
no.
Jaden Daniels
17 for
looked
24,
bad. Like, if you watched the game, Jaden Daniels looked bad. His net statistical performance, not that bad. His EPA plus CPOE composite performance is, I think, in the top 10. Almost all of that comes from scrambling, not even designed runs as much, although it did help when they were in the goal line and they were like, let's take our 180-pound waif of a quarterback and run him into some defensive tackles.
And then
week
his
one,
helmet gets flown off every play, by the way, too. Yeah.
So on one of these goal lines, he they like, hey, designed run for Jaden Daniels. Let's run him into a linebacker. And that happens. He doesn't get in. His helmet flies off. Then he gets in, but the play's called dead as soon as his helmet's off. And they're like, well, that didn't work. And he got potentially injured. I don't know. Let's do it again. And they did it again, and it worked. So I don't know if by week 17, Washington will have learned their lesson about mobile quarterbacks. I'm guessing not. But in week 1, it was relatively on the ground effective. But in terms of like watching this guy play quarterback, it doesn't look like he has it yet.
Luke Inman, nerdy stat of the day.
Yeah, not super nerdy, kind of on brand for me, I guess, anyways. And I know all's well that ends well, but I said on Thursday's episode, talked about it yesterday too, can we just not do the turnover thing this year? How does the offense start the 2024 season? First possession, turnover, 6th opening drive turnover since just last year, by far the most in the NFL over that span. Will you guys just walk me through how you guys were feeling when that happened? Obviously, it was so early in the game. Like, okay,
I was prepared to go.
Is that what
I
we're
was
doing?
prepared to go Joker mode on the season and just make fun of the Vikings for 18 consecutive weeks right after that fumble.
Down.
I was like, oh, it's done. All right, yeah, I'm just gonna have fun with it.
Always the most random person too. It's like, oh, Josh Oliver one week.
Yeah,
the veteran,
Josh
the
Oliver.
captain.
Yeah. I think there was a random receiver, Powell maybe, who had one against Denver last year. I think there was
Osborne, maybe
Osborne. Yeah, it's always someone different. CJ Ham, the sure-handed.
Will we find a way?
Ham-handed.
Will we find a way to get an offensive lineman credited with a lost fumble this season?
That's like
probably Bradbury. Bradbury's got to go the ball.
That's the last spot.
He's the only one who's insane enough to try to like advance
to go catch one. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, it would be awful, but it would be nice. A CJ Ham fumble is rare, not because he's necessarily that sure-handed. His fumble rate is 1.7%, in line with a lot of NFL averages for his position. But he just doesn't get the ball, so we never get to see an opportunity for him to fumble. Right. Second fumble of his career.
Let's take Van Ginkel out of the equation because I think he probably is the winner here. Who was your favorite debut? And take Darnold out too. So I'm taking out the two big ones.
Come on. I mean, Aaron Jones, then the next third.
Yeah, Aaron Jones.
I think Aaron Jones. Yeah.
Dude, KOC, we talked about it all summer. KOC has literally never had a running game since he's been here. Okay, 2 years. But you know what? Bottom 5, if not bottom 3, in so many running metrics last season. So, yeah, I mean, you heard some Packer fans say, oh, okay, he's old, but then we got to training camp and all the like videos were like, oh, he just glides around back there. He's still got it. Dude, to see him beat a DB to the corner, I was like, okay, he's still got that kind of speed.
Yeah, he's got juice.
He's got juice, man. And you know, it's so tough to like sift through all the training camp hype and what's real, what's not. Dude, everybody was just pumping him up, not just on the field too, but like just a genuine good dude in the locker room as well. But yeah, he just adds this new component, right? This new element to this whole offense we just haven't seen with KOC to this point. So Dalvin gave you the home run ball, right? We always talk about that. But that was like, here's my analogy with that. It's like 42-year-old Jim Tomei hitting 30 home runs, but his batting average is like 208. So I was like, okay, thanks for the splash plays and the home run play, but it's like I need a little bit more than that to like
Joey Gallo. That's my motto.
Can't be an automatic
Joey
guy.
Gallo.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Player of the week that had the worst, or who had the worst game on the Vikings in week 1? Ask someone in the chat.
That was a weird way to word that question.
Ingram,
like anti-player of the week, I think is what you're going for. Yeah, it's probably.
Or what is? If is there anything negative for you coming out of this game? Anything that you can latch onto and say, all right, that's gotta get fixed.
If we're gonna do the PFF thing and do it from like a rate perspective, like obviously it hurts for Ingram, but it'd be CJ Ham, right? He was on the field for like 8 snaps. One of them was a fumble. That's not just from a rate perspective.
Do incorrect math PFF style. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
So
he was really good.
Misleading.
Okay, sure, that's better.
Yeah, the interior. I mean, the basically the area of the offensive line that we had the most. Well, I shouldn't even say had the most questions about, because we didn't know what Blake Brandel was really going to do. He was a big wild card too. I mean, we were worried about the interior, but the right side, right? Ingram and Bradbury. Again, haven't watched the game back yet, so we'll see all 22, all that stuff. But just looking at the PFF grades, sounds like Bradbury did not have a great game as well. And we talked about all the time Sam Darnold was pressured, so obviously that adds up. But yeah, Ingram for sure has got to be near the top of the list.
How about Ivan Pace, who had a good game, but picked up 2 penalties on one play, including just a punch.
Dude, he got chewed out.
Yeah, like what is going on?
He got chewed out.
Well, and you see,
he got away with what he was saying in the locker room, though.
Yeah,
yes, he did. He backed that up. No, yeah.
He got benched the next couple of snaps too, right? Like the defensive snaps that followed. He wasn't on the field.
We got to talk to him. Yep.
Yeah.
I have
an underrated player of the week. Josh Metellus. He had a phenomenal
game.
God,
yeah,
he was such the glue, man.
Outstanding. Plus, I think he may have had like more special team snaps than everybody, or something along those lines.
Oh, I love
that. And they were excellent. They were excellent special team snaps. I think I wrote in my piece on the game that he's improving in his quest to be the most football player alive.
That's perfect.
He had 11.
I have a genuine concern, a real one. The play clock. Up against the play clock all the time. Mm-hmm. Had that one disaster in the third quarter where you had to blow 2 timeouts because you couldn't get the plays off. Mm-hmm. I think that is just a risk of the way that O'Connell's play calls are organized. They're just really long. There's a lot of motion. There's a lot of stuff to do in 40 seconds.
There's 2 plays called in the huddle.
Yeah. And then you have to do motion, and then you have to can to it, and then everybody's got to get that. And it's like there's like so much you have to do, and you either have to like back off and try to like dial down that complexity, which I think O'Connell will be very reticent to do because there's a lot of advantages that come with that, or you just got to tighten up your operation.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a way to be more precise about what a delay of game is, because I thought the Vikings and the Giants maybe as well got away with like 3 of them where
you get that extra beat.
Like a couple of tough
You get that extra beat when it hits 0. You get that, but
the generous
to your point, Sam. Yeah, that was multiple were more than an extra beat.
It does seem more generous in the NFL than it does in college, and I have no idea why that's the case. But it seems like consistently over the past couple of years, whenever I watch a college game and it goes down to 0, I'm like, yeah, they got a little bit of time. No, they don't. They got to get going.
We got to go. Let's go. Getting out of this game relatively injury-free, I'd say, was a huge win as well.
Addison.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see about Addison, but hopefully
Nailor getting his ankle together and playing, I mean, that helps a lot that you don't have 2 guys with bad ankles out. We probably see Tristan Jackson activated, maybe a little more Sherfield next week. Addison
looked real ankle. Good before he was out too. He
did on that 99-yard drive. He was cooking. I don't know if it's
what he's
going to
be,
man.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a
that guy's good, but he's just built like a pencil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tutu Atwell, but good. Like good.
But like good. But like we like him.
Yeah. Most athletic podcaster of all time.
Bryce Young at receiver and good.
The Daniel Jones performance actually reminded me of the Vikings against Bryce Young last year. Like that was probably the next worst, like the last time the Vikings made a quarterback look that bad was Bryce Young. And I think they were very similar yards per play.
Was that one of those like fake 1-score games that ended up being a 1-score game because it wasn't close, but they got back
like a garbage time.
Yeah.
21-13.
And when like the offense lets off the gas, the offense lets off the gas.
21-13. All right.
And 7 of those were the pick 6 by Kirk that went 100. Right.
Okay,
So I don't think Young
Mm.
had an offensive touchdown in that game, similar to how Jones didn't.
I think it was Miami.
Yep.
Last year, the year before, that was a one-score game because they scored one to bring it within a touchdown as time expired.
Nice.
That
Like
could
they were down 16 and scored one as time expired.
The Bears did that for a one-score game, I think 2 years ago, 2.5, like something like that. Yeah, it was like a walk-off one-score game. You're like, all right, I'm going to count it in the stats because it's funny, but come on.
Classic Soldier Field Vikings-Bears game.
Shout out Harrison Smith, 35th career interception. Only needs 46 more to catch up to Paul Krause.
All right, well, there you go. Get him next week.
So close, dude. Right there. By the way, finally just looked at the defensive box score. Byron Murphy led the team in tackles with 9.
And a cornerback leading the team in tackles, and you're not worried about it.
It
was actually good.
Didn't feel like
kept
it was
throwing
a
unders right
corner.
at him.
Yeah, it's not the Andrew Booth.
by.
It's not the Andrew Booth tackle stat. No.
Yeah.
No. I wasn't caught off guard by any cornerback play yesterday whatsoever, really. Griffin and Gilmore, didn't hear from him much, which I think was a good thing. Hey, thanks, Burrito Bill. I am athletic. There is combine footage. Don't go find it, but yeah.
Don't
you know.
Look at it.
Tape, but
Don't watch it.
If you know, you know. Let's get to the week 1 bets. We each made 2. One of them was a traditional spread or over-under. The other was a Vikings-related prop from the Vikings game. We started with $1,000 mythical bankroll. I'm leading. I went 1-1. I got Aaron Jones 60+ yards at plus money. Felt like easy money. Plus 110. I lost on the Dolphins -3.5 by half a point, so I netted 52.50. Luke Inman, you also lost by half a point on the Texans. Sorry about that.
29-27. How does that happen?
Ooh.
Vegas is good at this.
Yes,
They might know what they're doing. Yeah.
You won your big one, though. You put 100 on Neighbors over. You hit it, so you netted 37.72. You're in second. Arif, you went 1-1, but you lost 20 cents.
Yeah,
let's go. The minimum. Lost 10 on Darnold. Darnold went under. You bet the over, but you got the Chiefs spread. You lost 20 cents. Luke Braun, sorry, man. 0-2 start. Jefferson goes under, and the Ravens lose by a toenail.
I like how
Lost
Sam says,
50.
sorry, man, but laughs underneath his breath. Like, are you sorry then? Are you really sorry?
Yeah, can't wait to figure out the loser punishment halfway through the season again.
We do okay for ourselves. We do okay. You know, it's got to dawn on us organically. Did you guys?
I agree with that. Actually,
something already.
I guess if we did,
I think we had an idea. You had.
We talked about a roast, but I don't know how
to
format that in a fun way. Yeah. But
All
maybe
right,
maybe that'll develop over time.
Yeah, maybe that'll happen organically. Or are we going to do the generic, like the loser has to go to IHOP and eat a pancake every hour or something for 24 hours?
Yeah.
There was a legendary thread yesterday or 2 days ago about a guy who had to spend an entire day at a sports bar, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Did you see this one?
Yeah, what bar is opening at 6 and closing at 2?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that. But
why is that fantasy punishment occurring at the beginning of this season? I don't understand it.
Right. Is it like an NFL Sunday thing?
Probably.
Like, okay, I kind of get it on the West Coast when there are games at 10 a.m. and people want to like do a brunch thing out of it.
Yeah,
6 is insane. 6 a.m. is ungodly. But
why does that bar open?
The brunch? You're right. A lot of bars do breakfast.
Yeah, 6 a.m. is insane. Like the bar I used to watch Vikings games at out here, and it'd be on at 10 a.m. They would open at like 9:30.
Yeah,
the guy
feels
ideal.
More right.
Yeah.
Like legally, a bar can't be open that long, can it? Well, I guess so. All right.
Legally.
Yeah. Is it Wisconsin? What state are we in here?
24-hour dive bar?
Zing!
On Thursday, we will be live once again, previewing the San Francisco home opener, digesting more of Vikings Giants and whatever emerges from the Wednesday press conferences and injury report. Ron Johnson will join as well. Luke Inman, Luke Braun, Arif Hassan. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Thanks to all who watched live and commented. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being a part of the family here. And let me check. Did we get to our 8,000 subscriber?
Come on, baby.
You can still do it right now. We are 8 away from 8,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Hammer that subscribe button. We would appreciate that. It's the Minnesota Football Party, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.